Youth for Christ Shasta, we are seeking a changed life in every kid, one at a time.
I just want to tell you about one changed life.
One kid in Shasta County.
I want to tell you about just one.
One changed life.
Sean was a terminally ill cancer patient.
We were on Parsons Junior High.
This student had been hurting because a friend of his had died in a recent accident.
I'm on the campus on a weekly basis.
We met her at a gathering. She was facing many charges.
Sean was a little bit special. He was confined to his wheelchair.
In walks 12 kids.
The Youth for Christ is challenging the culture and the teachings that they have towards sexuality and what a biblical worldview of sexuality looks like.
I was on his campus, and a lot of other chaplains were there talking to students about this other student's death. And
I was in prayer constantly, every single day about this young person.
I could see in Sean's eyes that he was missing out on that great opportunity.
She said, "Jack, I'm scared. I don't want to go to prison. I know what I did was wrong. I know that God has forgiven me, but I don't want to go."
My dad's on his third marriage, and I see what happens when they get divorced and the devastation, and everybody's mad and hurting, and marriage is stupid and they never last anyway. I'm never going to get married.
We helped Sean up into the saddle.
We began the process of journeying, of teaching them how to share their faith and give a testimony.
a couple days later, the school counselor called me asking me to come in and meet with him. And the school counselor actually gave us his office in a public school for me to meet with this student one-on-one.
I looked up at Sean, he looked at me, and all I saw was a smile from ear to ear.
And through the result of their testimonies, we saw 75 of their peers receive Christ.
He asked if he could receive Christ right there in that public school counselor's office. And he asked for forgiveness of his sin, placed his faith and trust in Jesus alone. It was a wonderful time.
Unfortunately, Sean didn't make it through the rest of the summer. But I guarantee you he's up with Jesus smiling right now.
And she said, "I will continue to pray." And she prayed, and she fasted, and she became closer to God. And as she became closer to God, we could see an uplifting in her face. We could see her change, her demeanor.
One of the girls that was part of this original had shared how she'd gone home at spring break and visited Grandpa, who was in the hospital, and was all alone with him. And she asked Grandpa, "Have you ever received Christ?" And he said, "No. Would you like to?" And he goes, "Yes." So she led him in a sinner's prayer. He received Christ, and the next day he died.
In fact, he started a Bible study on campus, started bringing friends to youth group, and his family and him looked back on that years later, pointing that that was one pivotal moment in his life where things changed.
Judge decided 5 years on probation with strict conditions. Those conditions were finding a job, which she did, signing up for college, which she is in, living in a responsible family, which she's doing. The Lord has changed her life. He's taken her from darkness to light.
In a little while, I'm going to be able to see Sean myself. And I'm going to see that smile, and he's not going to be smiling at me, he's going to be smiling at the face of Jesus.
We diminish her abilities or their abilities, and they have great abilities that God needs to use them as well. We need to empower them and give them abilities to share their faith.
It's just an incredible thing to see those light bulbs come on and to see the excitement that they have, that they don't have to be a statistic if they choose to honor God with their life.
There's over dozens and dozens of chaplains, and we go on to 10 or more campuses here in the area. And so we never know from moment to moment what we're going to encounter.
We do this for the kids. There's other kids in Shasta County who come from broken homes. They live in foster care. They have other challenges that really that nobody else ever meets. We have the opportunity to use an animal that God's given us and break those barriers down.
We want to take these young people and make them responsible adults in our community, just one at a time.
I'm Mike Mitchell, Chairman of the Board, Youth for Christ Shasta, and now the Interim Executive Director. You know, we are celebrating 25 years of ministry to this community through various programs, including abstinence programs and training in the public schools, campus life programs after school for our kids. We have chaplains on high school campuses to lend an ear to help guide students, as well as a very active horse program where we're able to get some of these troubled kids in with horse trainers and the animals themselves to try to break down those walls and draw connection to these kids. We also have a very large annual 3-on-3 basketball tournament where we give kids a chance to compete, as well as summer camps. And as we look over this last 25 years and we see all the stories and great successes, we actually think that the next 25 years are even more critical to this community as we look at the breakdown of the family and all the tragedies that these young people are facing. We're in the process of developing what's called a 3 to 5 year strategic plan. So we take a look at where we've been, what we've accomplished, and now what does that expansion look like for the next 25 years. What we're looking at now is expanding into Siskiyou, Butte, as well as Tehama counties to bring some of the most critical programs we have, which is quite frankly bringing chaplains onto the high school campuses within these areas, as well as starting after-school programs. Those two components of our ministry have shown great success in the past, but we have to be more than just focused on Shasta. Sure, we'd like to see some expansion of our own programs here in Shasta, but we represent a very large region, so it's time for us now to spread the good news and spread our programs to those other community areas, because we're out to change a life, every kid, one at a time.